What's up, YouTube? What's up, Facebook? What's up, family? And what's up, for friends? It's your boy Lowell, and I'm back again. I got to hit y'all with another video. Y'all know what time it is. Y'all know what time it is. Hey, I'd like to welcome you all back to another episode of Papa Lowe's Place. Now, y'all know that Papa Lowe's Place is a place where if it's on your mind, then let's talk about it. If it's something that you're going through, let's talk about it. Family, if it's in the news, then doggone it, I say, let's talk about it. All right? Again, I'd like to thank each and every one of you guys for watching, for clicking on and for watching this video. It means a lot to me, and it means a lot to my channel as well. So again, I say thank you. Now, before we get into the video, I got a special guest here today. You know, this is a regular. Y'all know him by now. I'm not even gonna call his name out. I'll let him go ahead and introduce himself. Brother, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yo, what it do, y'all? And Mr. Holding the Road himself back at you with another one. Y'all know what time it is. And to quote Long for the second time, y'all know what time it is. Let's get it done.
Y'all heard him, let's get it done. Now, today we usually we do videos to try and you know, they may be a little funny sometimes, but you know, there's always some kind of meaning behind it that, you know, something to grow us and something to help us along life's journey. This video right here, there is nothing, and I do mean there is nothing funny about this particular video. However, there are a lot of life lessons in this particular video. So I pray that you guys will take the time to sit down and watch it, rewind it if you need to, pause it wherever you need to. In the comment section, if you have questions about it, then let's entertain those questions so that we can come up with answers for that. Now, having said all of that, we're gonna go ahead and dive right into the video. All right, so roll the clip.
I think this was a husband very devoted to his wife. I think they were also devoted to the Bible, and that just manifested itself incorrectly.
Investigators are calling it an unusual tragedy.
I don't think there's making a lot of common sense out of it.
According to Sheriff Orvis Campbell over the weekend, a family who's part of the Holmes County Amish community was visiting Atwood Lake. Around 10:30 Saturday morning, authorities rushed to an area near Atwood Marina West after a woman intentionally drove a golf cart between two buildings, hit a stone wall, and flipped into the water with her 3 teenage children on board.
He drove around the lake erratically, praying a couple places.
You know, when I first heard that, you know, this news report, it got me thinking of Susan Smith. And a lot of you guys are from South Carolina or are familiar with the Susan Smith story, where her boyfriend didn't want children. And she had, I believe she had 3 children, either 3 or 2 children. And since he didn't want any, she was going to go ahead and eliminate those kids. And so she had them just sitting in the car. It was 2 of them. Had them sitting in the car, and the car went off into a little, you know, body of water, and, you know, car went under, car was submerged, and the kids ended up passing away. So it's kind of like, you know, had some Susan Smith kind of overtones to it, but, you know, we're gonna go ahead and continue. I just thought I would interject that, you know, it's like I've seen this story before play out, but
as a matter of fact, before you continue that, just a fun fact here. I'm not sure the outcome, but I think here recently that same lady, Susan Smith, was eligible for I think release or parole or something like that. I'm not sure what the outcome was, but just I want to say juicy, but just a tidbit of information. That's all I want to say.
And Jason brings up, should people like that actually do harm to their children, do they deserve parole? Should they be paroled, or should they have to just finish out their entire sentence? I believe in second chances and things of that nature, but when it comes to children, I have I have a sweet spot for them. So when it comes to that, so again, I'm kind of I'm like you did that to a child. You need to finish your time, and you know, some of you may feel differently. Brother Jason may feel differently. But we're gonna go ahead and continue with this video. So let's continue.
Our understanding that she then heard the voice again telling her to drive into the lake.
Before the crash, witnesses saw the woman and teens huddled closely.
Heads touching, praying very intently next to the water by the kayak launch. So much so that it actually scared some witnesses.
It was soon discovered the woman's husband, Marcus Miller, and 4-year-old son, Vincent Miller, were missing. Through radical statements from the woman, investigators later learned earlier that morning, just after midnight, the woman and her husband jumped into the water.
Because God was speaking to them and telling them to do things. Things to prove their worthiness to God, to show their faith as complete.
45-year-old Marcus.
Let me stop right there for a second, because the sheriff just said something that is extremely valuable. He talked about how the couple said God told them to do this. And listen, I'm not saying, and I'm never going to say that God doesn't talk to anybody. I'm not going to say that. But I think we need to start vetting these things when people say that God told them. I can't tell you how many times a day that I hear from people telling me that God told them this and God told them that. And, you know, so many times I just want to say, well, what did he sound like? Was his voice deep? Did he have a high voice? Did he have an accent? Did he speak in Hebrew? Did he speak in American? Was it Spanish? You know, how was it? Was his voice raspy, you know, or was it smooth? Was it Denzel-like? How was it? You know, because, again, I'm not saying that God doesn't speak to anyone. I'm not saying that at all. But I'm saying that all this talking that God is apparently doing, there's a lot that's going on in our world today that if God was doing all of this talking, a lot of this would be solved. A lot of issues would be solved. A lot of sicknesses and illnesses would be solved. It seems as if God is only talking about things that maybe pertain to you. And sometimes I think it's more of a feeling than it is God's voice. Look, if I am to believe that my coworker, I'm just using that as an example, this is not true, but my coworker heard God's voice this morning, then why shouldn't I believe that these people heard God's voices? Why not? Why shouldn't I believe that? I think we are throwing around that too much. God already gave us his voice. He gave us the Bible. He gave us all the voice we'll ever need. And we know that because in Revelation said, what did he say? If anyone adds to or anyone takes away from this, you know, then they receive the plagues that are in this book. So again, I don't know. Sometimes I think it's to make us feel like we're more puffed up and more bigger. Look, Lowell, I heard from Jesus talk to me specifically. And y'all know that in the news, I think it was yesterday or the day before, there was a pastor who said that he is best friends with Jesus, that he speaks to God on a daily basis, that he and God got it like that. And he was arrested yesterday or the day before. He was arrested for slavery and for some money crimes. I can't think of it, but I will post the, matter of fact, with this video, I will post the headline of that. But Brother Jason, what do you think?
As a matter of fact, Lowell, you actually hit the nail on the head. I mean, excuse me. Granted, when we go back to the Word, the Bible, and everything, we do see some. I really don't want to say test of faith, but I will say challenges of faith. Mm-hmm. When it comes to God's people, and I can't remember the actual. The two that was, but I do know it was a dad and son. Lord help me out here. I want to say it's Abraham. Mm-hmm. I think it was Abraham who took his son off to a distant land. Mm-hmm. Didn't tell his son where they were going. And when they got there, they had to build the altar. And God challenged Abraham's. It is Abraham, correct? Abraham's faith by telling him to sacrifice at that time his only son.
Right.
Bound him, put him on the altar, and late in the midnight hour before Abraham could go through with it. God from the works of the Bible said, God said, "Stay your hand, Abraham," and provided him with the ram in the bush.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I myself will say that coming from the word, will God challenge / test our faith? Possibly. Or possibly, or if we come straight from the world, he did. But I don't think, and this is just me speaking here, I don't think that he would test or challenge our faith to the point to where we are harming ourselves or anybody, especially his people.
Yeah, I mean, Brother Jason, this story is a serious tragedy. The mom and the dad, they just felt like God was talking to them. And, I don't know, it doesn't really go into depth on what they felt that God was saying. However, it really doesn't matter because their actions actually speak louder than their words ever could. They believed that this was necessary for them to do. And I don't want to give away too much of the story, but I just had to interject there. I think we do spend a lot of time saying, well, God told me this and God told me that and God told me that. And it, to me, sometimes it just gets, and when I really have to give you the side eye is when what you just told me does not line up biblically. So God told you something outside of his word. He told you something totally different than his word. So again, I just have to look at you side eye when it comes to that.
I mean, before you play, honestly, kind of had something like that happen to me, kind of low key. Some years ago, I had my godmother come live with me for whatever reason. I have no idea. And for some odd reason, I'm not sure what happened, but next thing I know, I'm at church ending Bible study, and I get called to the pastor's office to talk about something that she told my pastor. And I'm sitting here like, huh? What's going on? And then when it finally the hit the nail on the head, when she told my brother, when this godmother told my brother, she said, the Spirit told me to say something like that.
Wow.
I was like, huh? Wait a minute, huh? That doesn't make any sense. The Spirit told you to go tell my pastor some negative things about me that I didn't even know you had an issue with. Like, there was nothing negative about it. And I'm sitting here like, look, I'm in the meeting with a pastor. Like, where is this coming from? Like, you just blindsided me.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting here like, again, going back to what Lil said, how'd you put it? Vetting.
Yeah.
Vetting.
Vetting people.
Not only just vetting what people say that God spoke to them, but people who say God speak to them. Have you vetted yourself?
Well, let's continue with the video. Let's continue. Some good information right there.
Miller felt that he failed and went back into the water alone. The woman didn't see him again. Then around 8 a.m., the woman threw Vincent in the water, quote, as an offering to God. Vincent's body was found around 6 p.m. Saturday, about 10 feet from the dock. Marcus's body was found around 8:30 Sunday morning.
The manner of these two deaths is pending until completion of the autopsies.
The Old Order Amish Church and family involved released a statement saying in part, quote, as a church of Christian faith, we believe that we are saved by grace through faith in Christ. And the events of this past weekend do not reflect our teachings or beliefs, but are instead a result of mental illness. While the woman is expected to be officially charged tomorrow, right now she's in a mental health facility. Officials say that her 3 teenagers are safe and are staying with relatives. Natalie Clydesdale, 3 News.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories.
What you got?
Okay, ladies and gentlemen and everything, as y'all watch the video and everything, you're trying to put it together. I'm not gonna sit here and lie. When I watched this video the first time, I was kind of confused myself, trying to figure out what's going on here. But to get more context or context of actually what's going on, I had to mentally put this in chronological order, trying to figure out exactly what was going on. Because if I'm not mistaken, Lowell, they did start in the middle of the story, did they not?
They did.
Okay, so let's now between me and you, check my math here to make sure that me and you, as well as the audience here, we vibing. Mm-hmm. Okay, how it's supposed to start off was the man and woman apparently got a message from God, and for them to go into the water, and I guess sacrifice themselves. Mm-hmm. I guess it didn't happen. So the man and woman come back out of the water. The man felt remorse or guilty that he failed, so he goes back in himself and passes away. Mm-hmm. And then it was the 4-year-old son who's the mother, then threw the child into the lake. Vincent. Mm-hmm. And the child passes away. And then once again, guilt, remorse, or whatever feeling, what was going on there, unworthiness or whatever, came over the mom. Mom decides to get on a golf cart with her other 3 kids, drive around the lake, and between 2 buildings, erratically praying in different places, gets up to speed, and then hits a stone wall, which flips over into the lake, but Mom and the other 3 teens survive. Mm-hmm. Am I tracking, Lowell?
Yeah.
Okay. Good. Okay. Just making sure all of us here are on one accord here, because to listen to the story or whatever, in its raw state it is kind of confusing. But yeah.
So, but I'm glad Jason was able to break that down for us so that we can understand exactly what happened. There are people out there, you think about the Jim Jones story, you think about David Koresh, his story down in Waco, Texas, and, there are a couple of other stories that we can, draw from, where people become radical when it comes to religion. Now, I believe in being radical for God, and, as far as going out and making disciples, the Great Commission, going out and making disciples, and speaking, about God's kingdom in glowing terms and things of that nature. I believe if you want to call that being radical, then that's being radical. If I believe in studying the Bible with people. I believe in, preaching the word in season and out of season. I believe in all of that. But for God to, there are some people who take things a step further when it comes to being radicalized. And this story is great evidence of that. You have people, well, I heard God spoke to me and said that, we need to sacrifice ourselves. Okay, so you go out there and you sacrifice yourself. For some reason, you don't drown. I don't know why. I don't swim, so I don't know why you would. Maybe you swam. You were a good swimmer. So that didn't work. Then later on that night, while you and your husband are asleep or watching TV or something, he slips off and he goes out there and he sacrifices himself. You find that out, that he never came back. Then you take one of the kids out there and you sacrifice them. And then then you take all 3 of your kids out there and you want to sacrifice them. Again, I ask you, family, Does this sound like God is involved in any of this? In any of this at all? And again, when we're talking about being radicalized, it's like people who, they want something that no one else has. They want that deep, intimate, that one-on-one personal, and I know we're supposed to all have that, but it's like they have a deeper relationship with God than you and I actually have. And so again, when it comes to being radicalized, with people like that, myself, I don't really want a whole lot to do with them because I know that they are capable of anything. Brother Jason, you got something?
As a matter of fact, as I'm sitting here trying to put all this stuff together and everything, the more I think about it, the more conflicted the story actually gets. The reason being is because of the fact that they made mention that they were part of the Amish church, was it not?
Well, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So I don't get into the Amish the Amish learnings and teachings that often, but if you're a part of the Amish church, how is it that you have a golf cart if you don't believe in technology? I mean, I could be, now, don't get me wrong, for those people who are Amish or, religious fanatics or, deep down religious, don't come for me in the comments. I'm just speculating at this point right now. But most of what I've actually seen via clips, via documentaries, via reading and, trying to learn, anytime somebody says Amish, I'm thinking, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to be offensive, but I'm thinking almost colonial clothes, old school stuff, horse and buggy and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So again, don't come for me in the comments. I'm saying it right now. So if I'm way off base, I apologize. I apologize from the bottom of my heart. But again, that's what I've actually seen. But if I'm trying to culminate this story, there's a few things that just don't add up kosher to me. If you're Amish and on a golf cart, okay, that's the first thing. But then again, backing up to the actual, who died and who didn't, my brain tells me that this may be something more, I don't want to say sinister, but more maybe a financial thing. And I'm probably contradicting myself when I say that. But again, this story, this video could go so many different ways, and the actual reason. And the actual reason what happened, they said, the wife says, "Oh, God spoke to us." There another reason, could be insurance fraud, insurance purposes, financial issues. They couldn't, make ends meet to feed all 4 kids or whatever. I mean, it can go so many ways. We just don't know. I mean, we know what happened. We know what happened. We just don't know the facts behind why it actually happened. But I will go back to the word. Now, will God do a test or a challenge to ultimately hurt yourself or his people? I don't think so. Now, I will say this, because I say this to a lot of people. If God brought you to it, God will take you through it.
Yeah, I can't argue with that. I cannot argue with
so,
that. So,
again, just, it's to give an honest opinion and state facts or whatever, to culminate, to actually get a general idea about what's going on. We just don't have, we have when and what, we just don't. We have when, what, and where, and how. We just don't have why.
I totally agree with that. And, you know, one of the things that Brother Jason brought up, I didn't think about, the lady and the man, they were supposed to sacrifice themselves. And one of them didn't. I don't know.
Again, that's muddy waters right there. Seriously, I mean this could be, you know, I would have to agree with the sheriff on this one. I mean, you can't really make any sense out of it until you do an actual deep dive on what was actually going on. I mean, them being a part of the Amish church, you know, I heard talks of the Amish church shunning some of their followers for whatever reason. I have no idea. But I mean, again, we a lot of conjecture, but not enough facts.
I agree. But before we close, there's something that I really do want to touch on. And going back to what I talked about earlier, how people are constantly talking about, well, you know, God told me. I want you guys to do this for me. I want you to think of your celebrities, and not only that, of people who met someone and they say that God put them together. That God did this. They was blessed by God. God did this. They're getting ready to get married, and God put this thing together. God blessed this union. He did everything God did, that God told me that this is the one for me. And then years later, there's a divorce happening. How is it that God, who doesn't ordain divorce in any way, shape, form, or fashion, how is it that God told you that this is your husband, that this is your wife, and then he's going to go against himself by saying, you need to divorce them? You see, that's the dilemma for me. You know, when we're talking about, you know, what God actually said, what God didn't say. Again, a lot of the things that I think that when we mention God said this and God said that, is how we feel. And in order to put a stamp of approval on it, it's easy just to throw God's name around and say, well, yeah, God told me that that this is my husband or whatever have you. And in some cases, you can see the red flags right there. You can see them. And you don't need for God or anyone else to say, hey, this is not your husband or this is not your wife. The red flags are prevalent right there in front of your face. But again, we want to put the seal of approval on it, and we want to shut up people who are against, you know, or who are trying to help us in that situation. And the way that we shut them up is simply by saying, God told me. This is what God told me. Brother Jason, what you got?
Oh, just a slight plug here. Several videos ago, me and Lowell, I think it was me and Lowell, we did a video for Did God Say This? I can't remember exactly the title.
Yeah.
What Lowell is actually speaking of, what Lowell's speaking of, you know, if y'all go back and find that video up under the channel, Papa Lowell's Place, you'll find that video, and that video kind of, it will touch on what we're talking about today. Mm-hmm. It's not going to go, I don't remember if it goes into highly detail, but it does touch on them. So if you go find that video or whatever, you might be able to get a little bit more insight on what Lowell's trying to actually convey here.
All right. Jason, we sure do appreciate your commentary in that, but family, we'd like to know what you think. You know, do you think that the mom and the dad had some sort of pact together where they were supposed to eliminate themselves or sacrifice themselves, if you will? Or do you think that there's something far more sinister going on where, you know, like Brother Jason said, that, you know, maybe there was some insurance involved, maybe there's some monetary issues and things of that nature going on, you know, do you think that this woman should be brought up on charges? And I'm saying this, because some people feel like, hey, it's her family, you know, and she didn't hurt anybody else. She just basically, it was her family. Not only that, but we could tell that I believe that there is some sort of mental issues going on. And also, last question, do we need to look into the church that they're a part of? I know the church sent out some information that says, hey, we don't believe in any of that, but how easy is it for the church to sit back and Monday morning quarterback and say, hey, you know what, we need to distance ourselves from this. Yeah, those are our beliefs. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna put some just some little snippets of videos from religious
orders,
fanatics. I'm just gonna say fanatics who actually have done the same exact thing that this person did, and I'm talking about this is within recent memory. And so again, you know, is this something that we need to start looking at the churches? What are they actually teaching? Because in the end, the churches are not going to come out and say, well, yeah, we do teach that. You know, yeah, that is something that we believe in. And you know, I mean, you know, but don't worry about it. I think there are some churches that actually believe in that. And not only do they believe in that, but they pressure their members to live that way.
And so, I mean, if there's some churches out there who actually do that. I don't mean any disrespect when I say this, but if that's your religion and if that's what you believe in, then I don't mean any harm. But if you get my drift here, what's the point?
Yeah.
If you get my question.
Yeah. All right. I'm gonna answer Jason's question as best as I can, and then I'm gonna go ahead and close this video out. You know, Jason, I think that the reasoning for that is the sense of belonging. You know what I'm saying? A lot of us, Jason, a lot of us join these religious institutions in order to belong, to be accepted. And I mean, I see it. So again, that's my answer on that. But family, what do y'all think? Why are these people? Why would these people do what they've done? Why would they do that? So I would love to hear what you guys have to say in regards to that. And you had something, Jason?
I was just going to tiptoe on what you just said. With this video, y'all, again, like I said, I know it's kind of confusing. We know who, what, when, and where. We just don't know why.
Got it. All right, so love to hear what you guys have to say on this. Please like, comment, and share this particular video with your family and friends so that we can, you know, we want to grow too. We want to, you know, we're not right about everything. We just give our opinion and you know, just lay the story out there and love to, you know, interact with you guys. So again, like, share, comment on this particular video if you feel the need to do so. Also, we would love it if you guys would subscribe to the channel and become a member of the Papa Lowe's Place family. It would mean a lot to us, all right? So, as I always say in parting, you guys take care of yourselves and take care of each other, all right? I love you guys. Talk to you later. Bye.